My name is Marcus Ingram. I'm 32 years old, an ER nurse, and a single father. 3 weeks ago, at my sister's wedding, in front of 200 guests. She took the microphone and said, "My brother is a single dad. No woman wants him." The room laughed. My mother didn't hesitate. From her table, clear as glass, she added, "He's a used product." More laughter. My father covered his mouth, but I could see it in his eyes. He thought it was funny. My 5-year-old son, Ethan, was sitting beside me, his small hand gripping mine. I felt his fingers tighten as the noise grew louder, sharper. He didn't understand the words, but he understood something was wrong. His eyes kept moving from me to them, to the crowd, like he was trying to figure out why his dad had suddenly become the joke. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, taking it. 200 people laughing, my son watching, and then I noticed something. One person in that entire room wasn't laughing, and what he did next changed everything. Before I tell you how that moment unfolded, take a second, like the video, subscribe if you want more stories like this, and tell me where you're watching from. What time is it there right now? I read every comment, because if you've ever been in a room where everyone decided who you were, without ever asking you, you'll understand this. But to make sense of what happened that night, I have to take you back, way back, to where it all started. I grew up in a 4-bedroom colonial in Westchester County, New York. On paper, we were the kind of family people envied. Clean lawn, good schools, 2 parents who stayed married, and 2 kids who were supposed to turn out just fine. But inside that house, there were 2 roles, the one who mattered, and the one who managed everything else. My younger sister, Vanessa, was the one who mattered. 4 years younger than me, she had my mother's blonde hair, my father's easy smile, and a kind of effortless charm that made people overlook anything she did wrong. Teachers gave her second chances. Friends revolved around her. At home, she was the center of every conversation, every plan, every expectation. She was the future. I was reliable. And in my family, reliable meant you didn't need anything. No attention, no praise, no help, because you could handle it. When prom came around, Vanessa got a custom-made gown, soft blue, hand-stitched, the kind of dress people remembered. My parents took photos like it was a milestone worth celebrating. 2 years earlier, when it was my turn, my mother looked at me over her glasses and said, "You don't need all that, Marcus. You're not the type. I bought my own suit, clearance rack, 2 sizes off until I got it tailored, with money I saved from part-time work. I still remember the price. Because no one else did. Even our rooms told the story. Vanessa had the corner bedroom, big windows, balcony view, new furniture. Mine was at the end of the hallway, next to the laundry room. Everything in it had belonged to someone else first. I didn't hate her for it. She didn't build the system. But I remember lying awake some nights, staring at the ceiling, asking myself one question I never said out loud. What was wrong with me? I didn't know it then, but that question was going to follow me all the way to her wedding day. I met Laura when I was 24, halfway through my second year, working nights in the ER at St. Vincent's S. She worked in hospital administration, organized, sharp, the kind of person who knew exactly where she was going and expected you to keep up. At the beginning, she made me feel like I mattered. Like I wasn't just the background guy, holding things together, while everyone else got the spotlight. We moved fast, engaged within a year, married 6 months later. My parents showed up to the wedding, but I remember standing there during the reception, watching my mother talk to a table of guests about Vanessa's internship in Manhattan, like it was the real event of the night. "Marcus is doing well," she said at one point, almost as an afterthought, but Vanessa, she's something special. Even on my own wedding day, I was second place. I told myself it didn't matter, that Laura and I were building something separate from all of that. I was wrong. The shift didn't happen all at once. It never does. It started with small comments. "You're too quiet in social situations. You don't push yourself enough. You should be further along by now." Then it became something else. Laura had a way of making everything feel like it was my fault. If she was distant, I wasn't attentive enough. If she was angry, I must have done something to trigger it. I worked longer hours, picked up extra shifts, tried to prove I could be the man she expected. It was never enough. I found out about the affair when she was 6 months pregnant. Her phone lit up while she was in the shower, a name I didn't recognize, messages I couldn't ignore, her supervisor. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it, didn't even seem surprised. "You were never really here," she said. "I needed someone who actually showed up." I remember standing there, still in my scrubs, feeling something inside me go completely still. No yelling, no scene, just quiet. The divorce was finalized when Ethan was a year old. I was 27, working overnight shifts, dropping my son off at a 24-hour daycare that charged by the hour, coming home to a one-bedroom apartment that always felt too small and too empty at the same time. When I told my mother, she sighed. I always worried you didn't know how to keep a woman happy, she said. Vanessa would never let something like that happen. My father didn't say anything. He never did. Vanessa sent one text. That sucks, but honestly, you always pick the wrong people. Maybe try therapy. No offer to help. No question about Ethan. Just judgment. I stopped expecting anything from them after that. Not support, not understanding, just distance. And I learned how to survive in it. Daniel Mercer came into the picture about 2 years before the wedding. Vanessa met him at a charity gala black tie, Manhattan, the kind of event my family treated like a status checkpoint. Something about foster care reform, children's advocacy, the kind of cause that looked good on paper. He was a children's rights attorney, took on cases most people avoided. Pro bono when it mattered, not loud about it, not performative, just steady. The first time I met him was at a dinner at my parents' house. Vanessa had been dating him for a few months and wanted to introduce him properly. He shook my hand like he meant it. Firm, direct, no judgment. Then he noticed Ethan. My son was half hidden behind my leg, holding onto my jeans like he always did around new people. Daniel didn't ignore it. He crouched down to Ethan's level, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Hey, man, he said, that a T-Rex on your shirt? Ethan nodded, cautious at first, then lit up. Yeah, it's my favorite. No one in my family had ever made that kind of effort with him. Not once, throughout dinner. I caught Daniel watching, not staring, not obvious, just noticing. The way my mother redirected every conversation back to Vanessa. The way my father laughed at her jokes, but barely reacted to mine. The way I got up without thinking to clear the table, while Vanessa stayed seated, scrolling through her phone. After dinner, I was loading Ethan into the car when Daniel stepped outside. Does your family always treat you like that? He asked. I paused, hand on the car door. Like what? Like you're not in the room. I let out a short breath. Not quite a laugh. That's just how it is, I said. Vanessa's the center. I handle everything else. He didn't smile, just nodded, like he was filing something away. Then he looked at Ethan, already half asleep in his car seat. You're doing a good job, he said. Not everyone could. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. But that night, driving home, I kept replaying it, not the words, the fact that someone had noticed at all. The wedding invitation arrived in a heavy cream envelope with gold lettering so precise it looked printed by hand. It felt less like an invitation and more like a summons. Vanessa Ingram and Daniel Mercer request the pleasure of your company. The venue was a 5-star hotel in Manhattan. Grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers, guest list pushing 200, estimated budget somewhere around $150,000 covered entirely by my parents. For context, when I got married, they contributed $2,000 and made sure I knew it was a burden. Vanessa called me 2 weeks before the wedding. Marcus, we need to go over a few things. Her tone wasn't warm, it was controlled. Yeah, what's up first? I want you to wear something understated. Neutral colors, nothing that draws attention. I had a dark navy suit I'd been saving for. All right, I said. That's fine. She paused. And, do you really need to bring Ethan? I didn't respond right away. He's 5, she continued. He might get restless. I don't want any distractions during the ceremony. I don't have anyone to watch him, I said. And I'm not leaving him behind. Another pause. Sharper this time. Fine. But keep him quiet. And you'll be seated in the back, so it's easier to step out if he makes a scene. A scene. That was the word she used for my son, the morning of the wedding. My mother called. I spoke to the coordinator, she said. You and the boy are at table 23, near the service entrance. Don't make an issue out of it. This is Vanessa's day. I didn't argue, didn't ask questions. I'd learned a long time ago that it didn't change anything. But there was a moment brief, easy to ignore, where something didn't sit right. Like everything had already been decided. Position, set. I saw it again when we arrived. The ballroom was exactly what you'd expect. High ceilings, chandeliers dripping light, white roses everywhere, a string quartet in the corner, playing something classical I didn't recognize. Ethan held my hand tighter than usual. Dad, it's big, he whispered. Yeah, I said. It is. Table 23 was exactly where they said it would be. Back corner, half hidden behind a pillar. Close enough to the kitchen doors that I could hear staff calling orders back and forth. No one from my family came over. I watched my parents enter like they owned the place. My mother in designer, my father moving through the room, shaking hands, accepting compliments like they were hosting the event themselves. Vanessa came in last. White dress, perfect posture, everything exactly where it was supposed to be. Her eyes found me across the room. She smiled. Not warm, not genuine, the kind of smile you give when you've already won. On her way past our table, she stopped. "You made it," she said. "Of course I did." Her eyes dropped briefly to Ethan. "Just remember what I said." Then she walked away. A few minutes later, I noticed my mother's phone lighting up on a nearby table. A message preview flashed across the screen. "Remember the plan?" I looked at it for a second longer than I should have. Then I looked away, told myself it didn't mean anything. I was wrong. The reception moved the way these things always do. Music, speeches, glasses clinking, people laughing, like everything was exactly how it should be from table 23. It felt distant, like watching something happen instead of being part of it. Ethan sat beside me, swinging his legs under the chair, trying to stay quiet like he'd been told. "Dad," he whispered, leaning close. "When do we go home soon?" I said, "Just a little longer." Then the room shifted. The MC stepped up to the microphone, polished, confident. "Ladies and gentlemen, the bride would like to say a few words." Applause filled the ballroom as Vanessa stood. She moved like she owned the space, like this moment had been rehearsed 100 times in her head. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice smooth, controlled. "This is the happiest day of my life." More applause. She thanked my parents first, talked about their support, their belief in her, everything they'd given her. I didn't need to look to know my mother was already emotional. Then Vanessa shifted, subtle, but I felt it. "I also want to talk about family," she said, "about what we learned from the people closest to us." Her eyes moved across the room and landed on me. Ethan straightened beside me. "Dad, she's looking at us, yeah," I said quietly. "Marcus," Vanessa called, her voice amplified through the speakers. "Stand up for a second." 200 people turned at once. Every conversation stopped. I stayed seated for half a second longer than I should have. Then I stood. Ethan looked up at me, confused, his hand tightening around mine. "There he is," Vanessa said, smiling wider. "My older brother." A pause. "My brother is a single dad." The words dropped into the room like something heavy. A few people shifted in their seats. Vanessa didn't slow down. "He got married young, had a kid, and then—" She tilted her head slightly, like she was searching for the right word. "He couldn't keep his wife." Laughter, not loud at first, just enough to spread. I didn't move. "He's raising a kid on his own now," she continued. "Working nights, barely holding things together." More laughter, stronger this time. I could feel the eyes on me, measuring, judging. "No woman wants that," she added with a small shrug. "I mean, let's be honest. Who signs up for someone else's mess?" A table near the front laughed harder than the rest. Then my mother's voice cut through the room, clear, sharp. "He's a used product." The room broke. 200 people laughing, some covering their mouths, some not bothering to hide it at all. My father leaned back in his chair, shoulders shaking, trying to pretend he wasn't enjoying it. I looked down. Ethan's face had changed. His eyes were wide, moving too fast, trying to make sense of something he couldn't understand. "Dad," he said, his voice small. "Why are they laughing at you?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. On stage, Vanessa lifted her glass. "You know what my brother taught me," she said, pacing slowly. "What not to do." More laughter. "He showed me exactly what happens when you make the wrong choices, when you settle, when you think you can just drift through life and everything will work out." She gestured toward me, like I wasn't even a person. Same parents, same house, same opportunities. A beat. And look at the difference. Applause. Actual applause. Ethan's hand was shaking in mine now. "Dad, I want to go," he whispered. "I know," I said quietly, but my body didn't move. I saw something then. Notes in her hand, printed, prepared. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a moment. This was planned. Every word, every pause, every laugh. Vanessa raised her glass again. "To Marcus," she said, "my reminder of what failure looks like." Glasses lifted across the room. People smiling, some uncomfortable, most not. And my son watched it all, watched his father become a punchline. I thought that was the lowest point. I was wrong. Because that's when I noticed movement from the head table. A chair sliding back, Daniel standing up. And unlike everyone else in that room, he wasn't smiling. Daniel didn't rush. He stood there for half a second, like he was making a decision he'd already made a long time ago. Then he started walking, slow, direct, controlled. His shoes echoed against the marble floor as the laughter faded, one table at a time. Conversations died mid-sentence. Glasses stopped halfway to lips. By the time he reached the stage, the room was silent. Vanessa blinked at him, her smile flickering. "Daniel, what are you?" He didn't answer, didn't even look at her. His eyes moved past her, locked on Ethan. My son had turned into me, face pressed against my side, shoulders tight, trying to disappear. Daniel saw it, and something in his expression changed. Not anger, not shock, something colder. He stepped up beside Vanessa and took the microphone from her hand. Not forcefully, just final. Daniel, she said, her voice tightening. Sit down. I'm not finished. He ignored her, raised the mic. I'm sorry for interrupting, he said, voice steady, carrying across the room without effort. But this needs to be said. No one moved. No one spoke. He turned slightly, looking straight at me for a brief second. Not past me, at me, then back to the room. I've spent the last 2 years around this family, he said. Holidays, dinners, events like this. A pause. I've watched how Marcus is treated. The shift in the room was immediate, subtle, but real. Conversations where he's ignored, Daniel continued. Situations where he's excluded. Moments where he's expected to show up, contribute, and then disappear. Vanessa grabbed his arm. Daniel, stop. You're making a scene. He stepped away from her hand. No, he said calmly. You already did that. A few people shifted in their seats. No one laughed. I'm a children's rights attorney, he went on. My job is to recognize environments that damage kids, families that normalize humiliation, adults who think cruelty is acceptable if it's framed as humor. He pointed not dramatically, just clearly, toward our table. That boy is 5 years old. Every eye followed the gesture. Ethan didn't look up. You just made him sit there and watch 200 adults laugh at his father. Daniel said. You called that man a failure, a burden, a mistake. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. And you expect me to stand here and pretend that's normal silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. My mother had gone pale. My father was staring straight ahead, jaw tight. Vanessa's composure cracked. It was a joke, she said quickly. You're overreacting. Everyone knows we joke like this. No, Daniel cut in. You planned this. Her mouth opened, closed. I saw the notes, he added. I've seen how you prepare. This wasn't spontaneous. This was deliberate. A murmur started somewhere in the back of the room, then died again. Daniel took a step back from her, physically creating space. I can't marry you, he said. The words landed harder than anything else that night. I won't be part of a family that thinks this is acceptable. A collective breath moved through the room. Vanessa stared at him. No, she said, shaking her head. No, you don't mean that. You're just upset. I mean it. Flat. Final. He turned his head slightly, toward the edge of the dance floor. A phone on a tripod, still recording. This reception is being live-streamed, Daniel said, for relatives who couldn't attend. Another ripple through the crowd, which means there are about 50 more people watching exactly what just happened. He lowered the microphone. I'm sorry for the interruption, he said. The bar is still open. Then he set the mic down and walked off the stage. Just like that. No drama, no hesitation. Behind him, the room stayed frozen. And for the first time that night, no one was laughing. The silence didn't last. It cracked all at once. Chairs scraping, voices rising, people turning to each other, trying to make sense of what they'd just seen. Then my mother moved. Fast. Marcus. Her heels struck the floor like punctuation as she cut across the room toward our table. By the time she reached me, her face was already set, not confused, not embarrassed, angry. What did you do? She demanded, her voice low, but sharp enough to carry. What did you say to him? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. You ruined this, she went on, louder now. Your sister's wedding, do you have any idea what you've done? I didn't do anything, I said. It came out calm, flat, like a statement, not a defense. Don't lie to me. Her voice rose another notch. You've always been jealous of her. Always. You couldn't stand seeing her happy for one day. So you poisoned him against her, around us. People were listening again, not laughing anymore, watching, shifting. Vanessa's voice cut in from the front of the room. You've been doing this since the beginning, she said, stepping closer, mascara starting to break at the edges. Ever since we started dating, you couldn't let me have one thing, could you? I could feel it happening. The turn, not loud, not obvious, but real. The room recalibrating, rewriting. A few people nodded, others whispered behind hands. He must have said something. There's always more to the story. Poor Vanessa. It didn't matter what had just happened on that stage. In a matter of seconds, the story was shifting, and I knew how this ended if I stayed. I'd seen it my whole life. The difficult one, the jealous one, the problem. I looked down at Ethan. His face was still pressed into my side, shoulders tight, trying to stay small. That was the moment it clicked. Not the speech, not the laughter. This. If I stayed here, this would become his normal, and I wasn't going to let that happen. The silence didn't last long. It never does. It broke the second my mother started moving. Marcus. Her voice cut through the room, sharp, controlled, already rewriting what had just happened. She reached our table fast, heels striking the floor, like she was marching into a fight she'd already decided she'd won. What did you do? She demanded, leaning in just enough that the people around us could hear. What did you say to him? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. I didn't say anything, I said after a second, my voice even. He's been watching for 2 years. That's not true, she snapped. You've always been jealous of your sister. There it was. The script. Familiar. Predictable. My father stepped in beside her, not looking at me, just speaking like he was addressing a problem. You must have told him something, he said. You don't just walk away from a wedding like that. Across the room, Vanessa was on her feet now, her voice breaking, loud enough to carry. You couldn't let me have one day, she said. Just one. I could feel it happening, the shift, the way people were starting to look at me again, but differently this time. Not as the joke, as the cause. He must have done something. There's always more to the story. You don't destroy a wedding without a reason. I'd seen it before, not like this, but enough to recognize it. And I understood something in that moment, clear and immediate. If I stayed, I would lose control of the narrative completely, not because I was wrong, but because they were louder, and louder usually wins. I looked down at Ethan. His face was red, eyes glassy, trying hard not to cry again. His hands were clenched tight against his chest like he was holding something in. Dad, he whispered, can we go? That was it. That was the line. For 32 years, I'd stayed quiet, ignored it, absorbed it, told myself it wasn't worth the fight, but this wasn't about me anymore. I stood up. No sudden movement, no anger, just stood, adjusted my jacket, picked Ethan up into my arms. He wrapped himself around my neck immediately, like he'd been waiting for it. I didn't say anything to Daniel, I said, looking at my mother, then my father. I didn't have to. They didn't respond. You've been doing this for years, I added. He just decided he wasn't going to be part of it. You're lying, Vanessa said from across the room, her voice breaking again. You've always been like this, always trying to bring me down. I didn't argue. Didn't defend myself. There was nothing to gain from it. Instead, I turned, started walking. Marcus, you come back here right now, my mother said, louder now, losing control of the tone she was trying to maintain. You apologized to your sister. I kept walking, Ethan's face pressed into my shoulder, his breath uneven. Are we going home? He asked quietly. Yeah, I said. We are. Good, he whispered. I don't like it here. Me neither. The distance from table 23 to the ballroom doors wasn't far, maybe 40 feet, it felt longer. Every step measured, controlled, 200 people watching, but this time, no one laughed. At the doors, I saw Daniel. He wasn't leaving, he was waiting. I stopped just long enough. Marcus, he said quietly, I'm sorry. I shook my head once. You don't need to be. I adjusted Ethan on my arm. You did more than anyone else in that room. He reached into his jacket and handed me a card. If you ever need anything, he said, legal help, advice, anything, call me. I took it, nodded once. Thank you. Behind us, the room was still unraveling, voices rising, damage spreading. I didn't look back. I pushed through the doors and walked out. By the time I got Ethan home, bathed, and into bed, the apartment was quiet again. Too quiet. He fell asleep fast. Kids do that. 1 minute they're shaking, the next they're gone, like their system just shuts down to protect itself. I stood there for a second, watching him breathe, making sure it was steady. Then I stepped out into the living room and checked my phone. 49 missed calls, most of them from my mother. The rest split between Vanessa and my father. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Didn't need to. The text told me everything. Mom, 10:47 p.m. You ruined everything. Call me. Mom, 10:52 p.m. Vanessa is hysterical. Daniel left. This is your fault, Vanessa. 11:18 p.m. I will never forgive you for this. Dad, 11:43 p.m. Your mother is very upset. You need to call her. I read them once. Then I set the phone face down on the table. No response. A minute later, it buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I opened it. Aunt Linda, 12:03 a.m. Marcus. I saw the live stream. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve any of that. None of it was okay. I read it again, then a third time. It was the first message that night that didn't try to rewrite what happened. Didn't blame me. Didn't minimize it. Just acknowledged it. I sat down slowly. For a second, I didn't feel anything. Then it hit. Not loud, not dramatic. Just quiet pressure behind my eyes. Someone saw it. Someone actually saw it. I exhaled once, long, and leaned back into the couch. The apartment felt different. Less like something I was surviving, more like something I owned. My phone buzzed again around 8:45 the next morning. Rachel. We'd worked together in the ER for years. Don't read anything until you call me. Seriously, I have something you need to see. I called. She didn't waste time. They planned it, she said. What I'm sending you screenshots. Just look. 17 images came through. I opened the first one, a group chat. Ingram family, no Marcus. The same chat I'd been removed from months ago, after asking why I wasn't invited to Christmas Eve. The messages were dated 2 weeks before the wedding. Vanessa, I'm working on the speech. I'm going to call him out in front of everyone. Mom, just don't go too far. We don't want it to look mean. Vanessa, he deserves it. Showing up with that kid like it's something to be proud of. Mom, you're right. He's always been embarrassing. Just make it funny. Dad, don't drag me into it. Vanessa, relax. He won't say anything back. He never does. I stared at the screen, didn't scroll, didn't react, just let it sit there. Every word lined up with what happened. The pauses, the timing, the laughter. It wasn't a moment. It wasn't a joke. It was a plan. I closed the messages, set the phone down, and for the first time since the wedding, everything felt clear. There wasn't anything left to fix. I sat with the screenshots longer than I expected, not analyzing them, not looking for context, just letting the reality of it settle. Ethan was on the couch, half asleep, a cartoon still playing quietly in the background. His breathing had that slow, even rhythm again, safe, unaware. I watched him for a while, then I picked up my phone, opened a blank note, typed 2 words, no contact. That was it. No speech, no explanation, no attempt to get them to understand. There was nothing left to explain. For 32 years, I'd been trying to earn something that didn't exist. Approval, respect, basic decency, and they'd just shown me clearly, publicly, that they weren't interested in giving it. So I stopped asking. I blocked my mother first, then Vanessa, then my father. No hesitation, no second guessing. I set the phone down and leaned back. For the first time in a long time, my head felt quiet, not empty, just still. 3 days later, they showed up. I had just gotten home from a shift. Ethan was talking about something from daycare paint. Dinosaurs. Something that mattered to him in that simple, uncomplicated way kids have. Then I saw them, standing outside my building. My mother, in a coat that cost more than my rent. My father beside her, hands in his pockets. Already uncomfortable. Marcus, she said as soon as I got close. We need to talk. Ethan's grip tightened around my hand. Dad. It's okay, I said quietly. Go inside with Mrs. Patterson, all right? My neighbor had already opened her door halfway, reading the situation without asking. Come on, buddy, she said gently. I've got cookies. Ethan hesitated, then let go of my hand and went inside. I waited until the door closed. Then I turned back. You blocked us, my mother said, her voice tight. After everything you did, I almost laughed. After what I did, I said. You humiliated your sister. You poisoned Daniel against her. Do you have any idea what you've cost this family? I let her finish. Then I spoke. She humiliated me in front of 200 people, I said. You called me a used product in front of my son. It was a joke. She snapped immediately. You're blowing this out of proportion. I nodded once. Yeah, I said. That's what I figured you'd say. My father shifted beside her. Marcus, he started. Your mother's just upset. I saw the messages. I cut in. That stopped everything. What messages? My mother asked too quickly. The group chat, I said. The one I wasn't supposed to see. Silence. Real silence this time. You planned it, I said. Both of you. My father looked away. My mother didn't deny it. Didn't confirm it either. She just stood there. You've always been difficult, she said finally, changing direction like she always did. Always jealous of your sister. You couldn't let her have one day stop. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to, but she stopped. For the first time I could remember. I'm not doing this, I said. The words came out steady, controlled. I spent my whole life trying to get something from you that you were never going to give. I'm done with that. Her expression shifted, softer now, calculated. Marcus, she said, voice lowering, almost gentle. I'm your mother. Don't I deserve a chance to explain? I shook my head. No, that landed harder than anything else. You don't get access to me anymore, I continued. And you don't get access to my son. Her face changed instantly. Shock, then anger. He's my grandson. He's my son, I said. And I decide who gets to be around him. The door behind me opened slightly. Ethan peeked out. Dad, I'm coming, I said, without looking away from them. My mother stepped forward, reaching slightly. Ethan, sweetheart. I moved, just enough to block her. Don't. One word. That was all it took. She froze for a second. I saw something real in her eyes. Not anger, something closer to loss. Then it was gone. You're going to regret this, she said quietly. One day, when I'm gone, maybe, I said, a beat, or maybe I'll know I did the right thing. I turned. Took a step toward the door, then stopped, looked back once. I'm not doing this to punish you, I said. I'm doing it because I finally understand I deserve better than this. No response, no argument, just silence. I went inside, closed the door, locked it, and that was it. No shouting, no scene, just the end. The video didn't stay contained. It never does. By the end of the week, it had moved through the extended Ingram family like wildfire. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Aunts who used to send Christmas cards out of obligation. People who'd heard versions of my life filtered through my mother's narrative. Now they had something else. Proof. Aunt Linda called me on a Tuesday night. I just got off the phone with your Uncle Robert, she said. He saw the live stream. I didn't ask what he thought. I already knew. He's not happy, she added. Neither is anyone else who's seen it. That makes two of us, I said. She let out a quiet breath. Your mother called me yesterday, she went on, wanted help explaining things, said it was a joke that got out of hand. I leaned back against the couch. Did you help her? No, Linda said. I told her the moment she said those words, into a microphone, in front of 200 people, and a camera. The explanation stopped mattering. That sounded right, because it was. How's Vanessa? I asked. There was a pause on the other end. Not good, Linda said carefully. Daniel officially ended it. His family sent back the engagement gifts through their lawyer. Something about irreconcilable differences in values. Professional language. Clean. Final. And your mother? I asked. She's calling everyone, Linda said, trying to control the story. Saying you misunderstood, that Daniel overreacted, that it was all blown out of proportion. I didn't respond, because there was nothing to respond to. People saw the video. Marcus, she added. They heard what was said. No one's buying the rewrite. That mattered more than anything she could have said, not because I needed validation, but because the truth was holding its own. Vanessa tried damage control about 2 weeks later, a long post on Facebook, carefully written, probably reviewed by someone who understood optics. I want to address the misunderstanding at my wedding. I didn't read the whole thing, didn't need to. Rachel sent me screenshots anyway. Comments underneath, not kind. There was nothing playful about that. We all saw the video. You called your own brother a failure. Own it. The replies stacked up faster than she could manage them. For every excuse, there were 10 people pointing back to the footage. No spin, no reinterpretation, just facts. Rachel texted me later that day. She's getting dragged. Work knows. Someone said HR got involved. I stared at the message for a second. Didn't feel satisfaction, didn't feel vindication, just distance. A few days after that, Linda called again. Daniel's mother reached out to your mom, she said. That sounds like a bad conversation. It was, she replied. She told her she didn't raise her son to marry into a family of bullies. That landed. Because it wasn't emotional. It was clinical, like a diagnosis. Vanessa lost her fiancé. Her reputation was taking hits. My mother was scrambling, and I hadn't done anything. Not really. I didn't expose them, didn't confront them publicly, didn't fight back. I just stepped out of the way and let what they did stand on its own. Turns out that was enough. Daniel called me about 3 weeks after the wedding. I almost didn't pick up. Unknown number. I'd gotten used to ignoring those, but something made me answer. Marcus. It's Daniel. I sat down on the edge of the couch. Ethan was asleep in the next room, one of his dinosaur toys still clutched in his hand. Hey, I won't take much of your time, he said. I needed to say this properly. I didn't interrupt. I watched that dynamic for 2 years. He continued, and I told myself it wasn't my place, that it would pass, that I didn't understand it well enough to step in. A pause. I was wrong. His voice didn't crack. It didn't need to. The weight was already there. When I saw your son that night, he said, that was it. That's the kind of thing I've built my career trying to stop. And I almost became part of it. You didn't. I said, no, but I should have said something sooner. I leaned back slightly, looking at the ceiling. Doesn't matter now, I said. You said it when it counted. Another pause. I meant what I said, he added. If you ever need legal help, custody, harassment, anything, I'll take care of it. No charge. Why? I asked. Simple question. He didn't hesitate. Because your son deserves someone in his corner, he said, and so do you. I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't have anything to say. Because I didn't trust myself to say it clean. All right, I said finally. I appreciate it. We ended the call there. No follow-up, no attempt to stay in contact. Just mutual understanding. 6 months passed. Life didn't fix itself overnight. It doesn't work like that. But it stabilized. I got promoted at the hospital. Senior charge nurse. More responsibility. Longer hours. But it came with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Respect. My supervisor called me into her office one afternoon. You stay calm under pressure, she said. You take care of people. That matters here. I nodded. That was enough. Ethan started kindergarten in the fall. He adjusted faster than I expected. Made a couple of friends. Talked about them constantly. A kid named Oliver. Another one, Sophie, who apparently knew everything about dinosaurs. His teacher sent a note home after the first month. Ethan is kind, observant. He helps other kids without being asked. I read it twice. Then I put it on the fridge. The apartment didn't change much. Still small, still a little too tight, but it felt different, not like a place we were stuck in. Like something we built. Ethan's drawings covered the walls. Dinosaurs, stick figures, a lot of uneven shapes that made sense to him. One of them stayed on the fridge. A school assignment, family tree. Most kids filled theirs out with grandparents, cousins, branches going everywhere. Ethan drew 2 figures, one tall, one small, holding hands. "That's us," he said. "That's our family." I nodded once, didn't correct him. I started therapy, once a week, 50 minutes, didn't talk much the first few sessions, didn't need to. Dr. Chen didn't push, just asked the right questions. "You were the one they didn't invest in," she said at one point. "So they convinced you that meant you didn't need anything." That stuck. Not because it was new, because it was clear. I started dating again, nothing serious, just normal, coffee, conversations that didn't feel like negotiations. A nurse from pediatrics asked me out. We kept it simple, no pressure, no expectations. That was new too. The attempts to reach me never fully stopped. Birthday card for Ethan, no return address. But I recognized the handwriting, a $100 bill inside. I deposited it into a savings account, threw the card away. Messages from unknown numbers, voicemails I didn't finish listening to. One from Vanessa, one from my mother. Same tone, same script. Nothing had changed, so I didn't respond. The only one who came in person was my father. He showed up at the hospital. Didn't belong there. You could see it. We stepped outside. 5 minutes, he said. I gave him that. "Your mother isn't handling this well." He started. "Vanessa's not either." I didn't say anything. He looked at the ground. "What happened? It wasn't right," he said. That was as close as he'd ever come. "But she's your mother," he added. "She just doesn't know how to show it." I nodded once. "I know," I said, a pause. "But I'm not waiting for her to figure it out." He looked at me then, really looked, like he was trying to understand something he'd ignored for years. "I get it," he said quietly, and for the first time I believed him. It's been 8 months now. Ethan turns 6 tomorrow. There's a cake in the fridge. Too much frosting. Exactly how he likes it. A second-hand bike waiting downstairs. Wrapped badly. He won't care. I'm seeing someone. Her name's Michelle. She doesn't try to fix anything. Just shows up. That's enough. I have a job that respects me. A life that makes sense. And a kid who doesn't flinch when people laugh in a room. My mother still tries to reach out. Vanessa too. I don't hate them. That part surprised me. For a long time, I thought anger would stay. It didn't. It burned out. What's left is quieter. Not forgiveness, just distance. I chose myself. I chose my son. And that decision saved both of us. If there's one thing I understand now, it's this. Walking away isn't weakness. It's control. It's deciding what you accept and what you don't. I used to think strength was staying, taking it, enduring it. I was wrong. Real strength is leaving, closing the door, and not going back.